Properly cover the pipes to prevent them from getting damaged by spark, flame, or hot cutting scraps. 3. Pipes without pressure can bear max 130 degrees centigrade temperature for 1 hour. 5. Inspection on level and the density of battery electrolyte. Inspect the level of electrolyte. Please inspect the level of electrolyte frequently, and the level shall be 10 to 15 minutes above the pole plate. Inspect the density of electrolyte and the unit voltage of battery. When winter is coming, please inspect the density of electrolyte and the unit voltage of battery. The density of electrolyte shall be 1.26 to 1.29 gram per cubic centimeters. If above 1.30, it means incorrect electrolytes has been filled and the density of electrolytes must be adjusted. If the density is 1.20 to 1.26, it means that battery has not been fully charged and must be charged. If the density is lower than 1.20, it means that there's a serious electric loss or failure. Charge the battery and inspect it. 6. Inspection on transmission oil level and filling of transmission oil. Inspect the level of transmission oil when carrying out Class 1 maintenance for the vehicle. Inspect the level of transmission oil. Unscrew the side oil level inspection plug and inspect the oil level. The oil level shall reach the lower edge of the threaded hole. In addition, inspect and clean up the air ventilating device of transmission and replace this device if any damage is found. Fill the transmission oil during each Class 2 or higher class maintenance. Replace the transmission oil with the 85W/90 GL5 gear oil for heavy-duty vehicle. The transmission oil shall be replaced at least once a year. Unscrew the oil filling plug on the upper cover of transmission and add a specified amount of gear oil. 7. Inspection on axle housing oil level and filling of axle housing oil. The designation and the replacement interval of axle housing gear oil are the same as those of transmission. Inspect the level of axle housing oil. Remove screw plug on the rear cover of axle housing. The oil level shall reach the lower edge of the threaded hole. Fill the axle housing oil. Remove the oil filling plug above the internal axle differential for intermediate axle. Add a specified amount of gear oil. As for rear axle, the oil shall be filled through the threaded inspection hole on rear cover of axle housing. 8. Inspection on hub reductor oil level and filling of hub reductor oil. The designation and the replacement interval of hub reductor oil are the same as those of axle housing. Rotate the wheel to locate the oil drain plug at the lower position. Remove the oil filling plug and fill the oil into the hub reductor. Thereafter, rotate the wheel again until the oil filler is at the lowest position. Let excessive oil flow out. Tighten up the plug. Note that the oil shall be replaced when the engine is hot. Oil filling method for single-stage axle. Unscrew the oil filling plug for hub reductor. The oil filler at the highest position. Slowly fill specified amount of gear oil. Rotate the wheel till oil filler is 30 degrees below the horizontal position. Let excessive oil drain out. Tighten up the plug. 9. Inspection on balance shaft oil level and filling of balance shaft oil. Remove the air vent plug and oil filling plug and fill the lubricating oil through the oil filler. Please fill the oil slowly until the oil overflows from the oil filler. Tighten up the air vent plug and oil filling plug. Inspection on oil level in cap lifting cylinder and discharging of air in system. For Class 2 or higher class maintenance, be sure to inspect the oil level in cap tilting oil pump. Unscrew the oil plug. Fill the specified hydraulic oil into the lower edge of oil filler. If there's air in the system, discharge the air. The method is as follows. 1. Tilt the cap slowly with the hand pump Meanwhile, fill the oil. 2. Lower the cap to let excessive oil overflow. 3. Tilt and lower the cap once again with a hand pump. Inspect the oil level and add oil. Finally, tighten up the oil filling plug. 11. Inspection on lubricating nipple. Please inspect each lubricating nipple frequently. Pay special attention to the lubrication of the following parts: left to right bearings of clutch release shaft, clutch pedal shaft, driving universal joint, spline shaft of propeller shaft, lower bracket of shock absorber, shifting lever support, braking clearance adjusting arm, water pumping bearing, grease nipple on fan supporter, leaf spring pan, front end of steering knuckle campaign. Lubricating method for steering knuckle campaign. Jack up the front axle. Fill the lubricating grease until it is extruded out from the lower surface of plain bearing. Inspect the clearance of side baffle plate of balanced suspension. And if the clearance exceeded 3 mm, please mount the adjusting gasket or replace the side baffle plate. 12. Replacement of wheel. Inspection. 1. Don't damage the thread on any wheel bolt. 2. No paint, lubricative grease, or any other dirty on the fitting surfaces of brake drum and rib. 3. The compressing surface of wheel nuts shall be clean and free from dirt or oil stain. Assembly. 1. Wipe clean and apply some grease to wheel locating holes and external circle of hub. 2. Apply some grease or engine oil to the thread of wheel bolts and wheel nuts. 3. All wheel nuts are with right-hand thread. Install the wheel. Tighten up wheel bolts in crossing order with the wheel lifted up from the ground. Lower the wheel onto the ground and tighten each bolt with the torque of 550 to 600 Nm. 4. Whatever a wheel is reinstalled, retighten up the bolts after the vehicle has run for 50 km. 13. Half axle drawing operation. As for the drive axle with differential lock, while maintenance or towing, draw out the half axle in accordance with the specifications if necessary. Otherwise, after half axle is drawn out, the sliding engagement sleeve of differential lock may drop into the axle housing, so the half axle can't be reinstalled. The trouble will occur once the vehicle is driven. The correct operation procedure is as follows. 1. Press the inter-wheel differential lock rocker switch. 2. Observe whether the differential lock indicator lamp comes on. If not, get a gear engaged and slightly release the clutch to move the vehicle. Then this lamp shall come on. 3. Observe whether the working cylinder of differential lock is pushed out effectively and the differential lock is completely locked up. 4. Inter-wheel differential lock of intermediate axle is on the right side of axle housing and the inter-wheel differential lock of rear axle on the left. 5. Lock up the air cylinder rocker arm of differential lock and the braking clearance adjusting arm by iron wire to prevent the differential lock from getting released automatically when there's no air pressure or power supply. 6. Now the half axle may be drawn out for maintenance and repair. 2. Inspection and adjustment of vehicle. 1. Inspection and adjustment of valve clearance. Adjust the WP12 intake exhaust valve clearance and the WEVB clearance. Weichai WP12 engine is a full valve structure. The cold state clearance of intake valve is 0.4 mm and the cold state clearance of exhaust valve is 0.6 mm. The cold state clearance of WEVB is 0.4 mm. 1. Open the upper cover of valve chamber. 2. turn the flywheel in the normal rotating direction of engine until the scale groove on flywheel is aligned with the timing mark on flywheel case. Now the cylinder 1 is at the top dead center of its compression stroke, and the intake exhaust valves of cylinder 1 are closed. 3. Adjust the intake and exhaust valve clearance of cylinder 1, the exhaust valve clearance of cylinder 5 and cylinder 3, and intake valve clearance of cylinder 2 and cylinder 4. 4. Unscrew the intake valve rocker arm adjusting bolt. Insert a 0.4 mm filler gauge between the adjusting bolt and the valve bridge. Turn the adjusting bolt until the filler gauge can be moved with certain resistance felt, and then tighten up the adjusting bolt locking nut. In this way, adjust the intake valve clearance of cylinder 1, 2, cylinder 2, and cylinder 4 in order. 5. Unscrew the WEVB adjusting bolt locking nut. Turn the WEVB adjusting bolt until the small piston of the valve axle is pressed down to the bottom, and there's no clearance between small piston and exhaust valve bridge. Unscrew the exhaust valve adjusting bolt. Insert a 0.6 mm filler gauge between the valve bridge and exhausted valve adjusting bolt. Turn the adjusting bolt until the filler gauge can be moved with certain resistance felt. Tighten up the exhaust valve adjusting bolt locking nut. The adjustment of exhaust valve clearance is completed. 6. Unscrew the WEVB adjusting bolt locking nut. Insert a 0.4 mm filler gauge between the adjusting bolt and the valve bridge. Turn the WEVB adjusting bolt until the filler gauge can be moved with certain resistance felt. Tighten up the locking nut, and then the adjustment of WEVB clearance is completed. In this way, adjust the exhaust valve clearance and WEVB clearance of cylinder 1, cylinder 3, and cylinder 5 in order. 7. Rotate the engine for another round. Set the cylinder 6 at the top dead center of compression stroke, and then adjust the intake exhaust valves of cylinder 6, and intake valves of cylinder 5 and cylinder 3, and the exhaust valves of cylinder 2 and cylinder 4. 8. After the adjustment and inspection, mount and tighten up the valve chamber cover of each cylinder. 2. Adjustment of tension of engine belt. Inspecting and adjusting the tension of WP10 engine belt is the same as that for WD615 engine. WP12 engine belt is self-tensing type, so if belt loosens, the tension will be adjusted automatically. Users shall only replace the belt when there are longitudinal or transverse cracks. 3. Adjustment of idle speed. Weichai engine. 1. Turn on the ignition switch and start the engine. 2. Push down the brake pedal. Press the cruising resume key and hold it for 1 to 2 seconds to activate idle speed adjustment. The engine speed will be 600 rotations per minute. 3. Adjust the idle speed of engine through the cruising plus and minus switches, and the adjustment scope is 600 rotations per minute to 1000 rotations per minute. 4. Press the cruising resume key and hold it for 1 to 2 seconds to confirm the current idle speed, then release the brake pedal. The adjustment of idle speed is completed. Cummins engine. The adjustment scope for idle speed is 600 rotations per minute to 800 rotations per minute. The operation method: make the engine run at idle speed, and then press the idle speed cruising speed, adjust the rocker switch upwards or downwards one time to increase or reduce the idle speed by 25 rotations per minute. 4. Inspection and adjustment of free stroke of clutch. Measure the free stroke of clutch pedal. Standard valve is 35 to 40 mm. If it does not comply with the standard value, adjust it through the adjusting bolt on clutch pedal shaft. Unscrew the locking nut and screw in or out the adjusting bolt to increase or reduce the free stroke. After adjusted to the standard valve, tighten up the locking nut. 5. Air discharging for clutch hydraulic system. Fill the clutch brake fluid. Open clutch oil tank cover. Fill specific brake fluid with specifications of standard .3 and .4. It is recommended to use like 901.3 brake fluid. Make fluid level lie between upper and lower lines. Air discharging method for clutch system. When the level of brake fluid in oil cup is lower than the standard line, push down the clutch pedal for several times and then push it down to the end. Screw the air bleeding screw on the booster cylinder. After the air is charged, tighten up the pedal and push down the pedal again. Repeat the operation for several times until heavy resistance is felt when pushing. 6. Adjustment of pressure regulating valve. Pressure regulating valve is a device limiting the maximum air pressure in braking system, and the maximum air pressure can be regulated through the adjusting screw of pressure regulating valve. The maximum air pressure is 8.1 bar, and for Shacman F3000 vehicle, 10 bar. Adjustment method, and screw in or out the adjusting screw to increase or reduce the maximum air pressure. Then tighten up the locking nut. 7. Adjustment of free stroke of brake pedal. Measure the free stroke of brake pedal. The standard value is 17 to 21 millimeters. If it does not comply with the standard value, adjust it through the adjusting bolt on brake pedal shaft and screw in or out the adjustment bolt to increase or reduce the free stroke. After the free stroke has been adjusted to the standard value, tighten up the locking nut. 8. Inspection of thickness of friction lining. Remove the plug from the inspection hole on braking backing plate and inspect the thickness of the portion with most serious wear. It may not be less than 6 millimeters. Otherwise, the friction lining shall be replaced. 9. Adjustment of brake clearance adjusting arm. When the stroke of brake cylinder piston rod exceeds 30 millimeters, adjust the brake clearance. Adjustment method: unscrew the handbrake, jack up the wheels. Turn the hexagonal bolt on the screw end of brake clearance adjusting arm until the wheel is locked up, and then turn the bolt reversely until 3 sounds are heard. After the adjustment, inspect whether the vehicle pulls to one side in braking operation. 10. Adjustment of toe-in. Inspection method: 1. Check up the front axle of vehicle. 2. Leave a measurement mark on the height of tire radius and the center line of the 2 front wheels. 3. Measure the wheel thread and record the value A. 4. Rotate the 2 wheels backwards for 180 degrees. Measure the wheel thread and record the value B. 5. The difference between B and A is the value of toe-in. For diagonal tire, the value shall be 2 to 4 millimeters. For radial tire, 0 to 1 millimeters. If the standard is not satisfied, please adjust the toe-in. Adjustment method: unscrew the tie rod in locking bolts. Rotate the tie rod to adjust its length. Measure the toe-in again. After the standard is satisfied, tighten up the locking bolts on both ends. Section 5. Possible troubles and troubleshooting. 1. Engine can be started up normally. Inspect the fuel pipeline. 1. Inspect the level and quality of fuel. 2. Inspect whether there's air in low-pressure fuel pipeline. 3. Inspect whether there's air in high-pressure fuel pipeline. Inspect the electrical circuit. Turn on the ignition switch and observe whether the EDC trouble lamp is carrying out self-inspection. 1. If self-inspection is normal, further inspection whether the 8 feet of key switch are alive during startup. For WP10 engine, inspect the K701 starting relay and the terminal 50 of starter, whether the 6-pin connector is connected properly. For WP12 engine, only inspect the 6-pin connector. 2. If the EDC lamp does not inspect the K171 load relay and the electric equipment board fuse F400 of electric equipment board, whether the front X337 big plug of the radiator grill is connected properly, the polarity and two fuse boxes of battery, and whether the 89-pin connector of ECU is loosened. 2. Engine speed is limited to 1000 rotations per minute or 1500 rotations per minute. If the engine speed is limited to 1000 rotations per minute, inspect whether the throttle pedal is in poor contact, whether there's water in connector of throttle pedal, and whether the newly installed throttle pedal is of the same model as the original pedal. If the engine speed is limited to 1500 rotations per minute, the engine will go into limping back home mode. In such case, inspect the wiring of fuel injector, the engine coolant temperature sensor, engine oil temperature sensor, intake temperature sensor, and intake pressure sensor, the crankshaft position sensor, camshaft position sensor, the flow rate measuring unit, and the wheel pressure sensor. 3. Clutch can't be fully disengaged. Inspect whether free strokes of clutch meets the standard requirements. Inspect whether there is sufficient brake fluid in oil can of clutch and whether the brake fluid is deteriorated or leaks. Inspect whether there is air in the hydraulic oil pipeline. Inspect whether the air pressure in the vehicle reaches the level required. Inspect whether the master cylinder and the wheel cylinder are damaged. 4. No high or low speed gear zone exists. Inspect whether the air pressure meets the requirement. Inspect whether outlet pressure reducing or filtering valve complies with the requirements. Inspect whether there's a clear air discharging sound arising from double H valve when the shifting between high and low gears, and whether the double H valve is damaged. Inspect whether the high or low speed gear cylinder of auxiliary transmission is damaged. Inspect whether the auxiliary transmission synchronizer is damaged. The high and low gear can be shifted only when the transmission is set at neutral position. One cannot shift when any gear is engaged. 5. No exhaust brake can be applied. The driver shall inspect and eliminate the trouble. 1. 800 rotations per minute. Inspect whether the engine speed is higher than 800 rotations per minute when the exhaust brake is applied. 2. Inspect whether the engine reports the trouble code 311 for exhaust brake solenoid valve. Inspect the control line of exhaust brake solenoid valve. 3. Inspect the wiring of exhaust brake switch. 4. Inspect the air pressure of vehicle. If the air pressure is too low, the butterfly valve will not work. 5. Inspect whether butterfly valve of exhaust brake is jammed. Fifth gear may be used for starting the vehicle unloaded on a horizontal road, on a slope, for 9-gear transmission or 12-gear transmission. The second gear may be used for starting the vehicle without load, and the first gear may be used for vehicle under heavy load. As for 16-gear transmission, the third gear may be used for starting the vehicle without load, and the first gear may be used for vehicle under heavy load. Before shutting down the engine and parking the vehicle, place the gear lever at the neutral position in low-speed gear zone, and it is absolutely prohibited to park the vehicle with any gear engaged or slide the vehicle at neutral position when the vehicle is running. Five. Operation under special conditions. 1. Release of air cut brake. When the engine can't work and the vehicle has no air pressure, the wheels on intermediate rear axle will get fully braked under action of brake chamber spring force. You can use a spanner to screw off the bolts on the rear end of brake chamber of intermediate rear axle to release the parking brake. 2. Use of exhaust brake. WEVB brake system. When running down a long slope, push down exhaust brake button on the floor in left front of the driver. The exhaust brake butterfly valve will be closed. The fuel supply to the engine will be cut off, and the vehicle will carry out the auxiliary brake with the aid of the energy consumed by engine. The exhaust brake will work when the engine speed is higher than 800 rotations per minute. Pushing down the throttle pedal will deactivate the exhaust brake. When the engine is running at low speed, the effect of exhaust brake is not obvious. Cummins exhaust brake system. When running down a long slope, turn on the rocker switch, and then the exhaust brake will begin to work after engine speed is higher than 1000 rotations per minute, and the throttle is at the idle speed state. Now, the running vehicle may carry out the auxiliary brake with the aid of the energy consumed by engine. The exhaust brake will be deactivated automatically when the throttle pedal or clutch pedal is pushed down, and it will get activated again after the pedal is released. When the exhaust brake is in service, the brake lamp will come on. Cummins Jacob brake system. When running down a long slope, turn on the rocker switch, and after the engine speed is higher than 1000 rotations per minute, and the throttle is at idle speed state, press the rocker switch to step 1 for braking the cylinder 3 or step 2 for braking the cylinder 6. Thereafter, the Jacob brake will work until the engine speed is lower than 1000 rotations per minute, and then be released automatically. Push down the throttle pedal or clutch pedal to deactivate the exhaust brake automatically, and release the pedal to activate it again. When the exhaust brake is in service, the brake lamp will come on. 3. Towing the vehicle. When the vehicle is in trouble and can be driven, two methods can be used for towing: soft towing and hard towing. The towing speed shall be less than 40 km per hour. An emergency flash lamp will turn on. In long-distance towing, release the air cut brake and disconnect the transmission shaft. 4. Use of differential lock. If the vehicle can't get out from muddy road because the wheels on the side are slipping, stop the vehicle, push the clutch pedal, and press the inter-wheel differential lock switch. Then inter-wheel differential lock will get engaged. The working indicator lamp will come on. At this time, gradually release the clutch pedal and drive the vehicle with the low-speed gear engaged. The left and the right wheels will rotate simultaneously. The vehicle can get out from the sleepy road. If the vehicle still can't get out from the sleepy road after the inter-wheel differential lock is engaged because the driving axle is slipping, just push down the clutch pedal and press the inter-differential lock switch. Thereafter, the inter-axle differential lock will get engaged. The working indicator lamp will come on. Gradually release the clutch pedal and drive the vehicle with low-speed gear. Since there is no speed difference between intermediate and rear axles, the vehicle can get out from the sleepy road. When the differential lock is in service, do not turn the steering wheel. After the vehicle has been driven out from the sleepy road, be sure to stop the vehicle and deactivate the differential lock function in time. 5. Use of multi-state switch. The multi-state switch has 3 steps: non-load, moderate load, heavy load. The user may select the step based on load to reduce fuel consumption. When the vehicle is running, don't change the state. 6. Use of cruising function. Cruising function of vehicle equipped with Weichai engine. The following conditions must be satisfied to apply the cruising function: lowest gear, 3rd gear. Scope of engine speed: 1200 rotations per minute to 1900 rotations per minute. Minimum starting speed for cruising: 25 km per hour. Maximum starting speed for cruising: 90 km per hour. When conditions satisfied, press the Cruising Plus switch to set the current vehicle speed at cruising speed and remain the vehicle in cruising state. Now you may adjust the cruising speed through the Cruising Plus and Minus switch. Cruising Plus Minus switch. Press and hold the Cruising Plus and Minus switch. The vehicle speed will be increased or reduced. Point press the cruising plus/minus switch. The vehicle speed will be increased or reduced by 2 km per hour. Cruising off switch. Press the cruising off switch to deactivate the cruising function. Push down clutch pedal, brake pedal, or exhaust brake switch in cruising to deactivate the cruising function. Cruising resume switch. Press the resume switch to resume the original cruising speed. Push down the throttle in the course of cruising to realize overtaking. After the throttle is released, the cruising state will be resumed automatically. 7. Instructions on welding operation on vehicle. When welding the vehicle, follow the instructions below. 1. Turn off the main power switch and disconnect the negative cable of battery. 2. Remove the harness plug from the ECU. 3. Carry out the welding operation. 4. After the welding, connect the harness plug to the ECU. 5. Connect the negative cable of battery and turn on the main power switch. 6. Use of main mechanisms. 1. Cab tilting. 1. Remove all unsecured articles from the cab. 2. Close the doors. 3. Open the radiator cover. 4. Push the gear lever into the neutral position. 5. Block the wheels with the wedges. 6. Pull the handle of tilting oil pump to the position up, and then start to manually or electrically tilt the cab until the cab is fully tilted. 7. Pull the handle of tilting oil pump to the position down. Return the cab to its original position by hand pump. And after the locking mechanism is locked up, keep doing it until you feel the pressure increase obviously. Finally, pull the tilting handle to intermediate locking position. Electrical tilting operation. Turn on the rocker switch for electric tilting in the cab. Put the tilting handle to the position up or down. Then press the electric switch on tilting oil pump to tilt the cab. 8. Check to see what warning lamps turns off. Then vehicle can be driving. Note: only after the cab has been fully tilted and past the upper limit point may subsequent operation be carried out. Nobody is allowed to get into the tilted cab. 2. Use of handbrake valve. Handbrake valve. The handbrake can be used as emergency brake and parking brake, and it functions through the power spring brake chamber on rear axle, double rear axles. The parking brake can be realized by pulling up the handle of handbrake valve. The emergency brake with different intensities can be applied on intermediate rear axle by pulling up the handle of handbrake valve to different positions. If there's something wrong with the brake system, apply the emergency brake automatically under the action of power spring. Only after the pressure in brake systems reaches 0.55 megapascal, 5.5 bar, and the handbrake alarm lamp goes out, can the spring brake be fully released. Note: before starting the engine, place the handbrake valve handle at the braking position, or the effect of parking brake will disappear as the pressure in braking system increases. Trailer brake valve. When the vehicle is running, slowly pull backwards the handle of trailer brake valve to brake the trailer. It is a brake system independent from the main vehicle. 3. Use of PTO, power takeoff. The types of PTO: engine power takeoff, front transmission power takeoff, lateral power takeoff, button power takeoff, rear power takeoff, and so on. Operation method: park the vehicle, set the gear lever at neutral position, push down the clutch pedal, wait 6 seconds, and then press the PTO rocker switch to engage the PTO. As for rear type PTO, park the vehicle, push down the clutch pedal, set the transmission at low speed gear, press the neutral air valve switch, press the PTO rocker switch, and then slowly release the clutch pedal to engage the gear and carry out power takeoff operation with the vehicle parked. 7. Operation of lifting system of self-dumping truck. Lift the cargo compartment and dump the load. When the engine is running normally, the air pressure is higher than 5.5 bar and the electric circuit is in good conditions. 1. Push down the clutch pedal. 2. Press the neutral air valve rocker switch. 3. Press the PTO rocker switch. 4. Get the second gear or first gear engaged. 5. Slowly release the clutch pedal. 6. Slightly lift up the control valve handle to make it separated from its locating groove. Place the handle in the position up. Push down the accelerator pedal to lift up the cargo compartment. Release the handle to the position stop. Push the control valve handle to the position down, and the cargo compartment will be lowered. Push the handle to stop. The operation will be stopped. 7. After the cargo compartment returns to its original position, push down the clutch. Turn off the neutral air valve switch. Turn off the PTO rocker switch. Slowly release the clutch, and then the vehicle may be driven normally. 8. Engagement and disengagement between tractor and trailer. Fifth wheel on tractor. Light with just 95th wheel. Ordinary 95th wheel. Ordinary 55th wheel. Engage the trailer with the tractor. 1. Lift up the 5th wheel handle lock. Pull the handle forwards and place it in the fillister. 2. Adjust the semi-trailer supporting post to the appropriate height. 3. Back up the tractor slowly and engage it with the semi-trailer until 5th wheel is locked up reliably. 4. Connect the air pipeline. Firstly, connect the yellow joint for control pipeline. Secondly, connect the red connector for charging pipeline. 5. Connect the semi-trailer cable. 6. Lift up the semi-trailer bearing post to the traveling position. 7. After the 5th wheel handle has returned to its original position and reliably engaged, the vehicle may be driven. Disengage the trailer. 1. Block the wheels of trailer with a triangle wooden wedge. 2. Extend the trailer bearing post until the upper surface of 5th wheel keeps certain clearance with the lower surface of trailer. 3. Disconnect the cable. 4. Disconnect the air pipeline. Firstly, disconnect the red joint for charging pipeline. Secondly, disconnect the yellow joint for control pipeline. 5. Lift up the 5th wheel handle lock. Pull the handle forward and place it in the fillister. 6. Slowly drive the vehicle forward and disengage it from the trailer. Section 4. Maintenance, inspection, and adjustment of vehicle. 1. Maintenance of vehicle. Running in and mandatory maintenance of new vehicle. When the mileage of a new Shanxi heavy-duty vehicle reaches 2,000 to 4,000 kilometers, the user shall carry out mandatory maintenance for such vehicle in accordance with the regulations on mandatory maintenance for Shanxi heavy-duty automobile products. Afterwards, the vehicle shall go through periodical maintenance in the Shanxi heavy-duty service station for each mileage increases of 10,000 kilometers. For a while, with Cummins engine, the engine shall be inspected in accordance with the provisions specified in its operating instructions. Instructions are running in. 1. After the engine in cold state is started up, please don't accelerate immediately, but increase the engine speed only after reaching the normal operating temperature. 2. Drive the vehicle only on flat road of good conditions during the running-in period. 3. Shift the gear in time. Engage the clutch smoothly. Avoid sudden acceleration and urgent braking. 4. Before running up a slope, shift to a low gear in time. Don't have the overloading engine work at low speed. 5. For the first 3,000 kilometers, the vehicle may not tow any trailer, and its load may not exceed 70% of rating loading capacity. 6. Inspect the controlled pressure of engine oil and the temperature of coolant. Inspect the temperature of transmission, front rear axle, wheel hub and brake drum regularly. If overheated is found, identify the cause and have it adjusted or repaired immediately. 7. After the first 50 kilometers and each time a wheel is replaced, tighten up the wheel nuts with the specified torque. 1. Maintenance of air filter. Inspect the air filter maintenance indicator lamp. When the air filter maintenance indicator lamp or the indicator becomes red, the main filter element should be cleaned. After cleaning it for 5 times, the main filter shall be replaced. Tilt the cap, make the engine running, cover the air inlet for a short time, and then the air filter maintenance indicator lamp shall come on. For Shacman F3000 vehicles with negative pressure warning indicator, the observation hole will become red. Maintenance procedure. 1. Remove the air filter cover together with dust valve. 2. Unscrew the main filter element fixing nut, taking out the main filter element gently. 3. Use the dry compressor air with pressure no higher than 5 bar to blow the interior and exterior surface of filter element in angle of inclination across the direction. 4. Place a working lamp into the filter element. Inspect whether the filter element is cracked, punctured or other damages. It is absolutely prohibited to use cracked or punctured filter elements. 5. Inspect the sealing ring. If damaged, just replace it. Remove the safety filter element and inspect it with the same method. After the main filter element is cleaned, replace the safety filter element. The safety filter element shall be replaced every 2 years. Installation procedure. Mount the safety filter element into the air filter case. Fix it with the large hexagonal nut. Insert the main filter element into the air filter case. Fix it with small hexagonal nut. Install the cover with dust valve, openings backwards or downwards, and tighten the butterfly nut by hand. 2. Maintenance of fuel filter. Dusting Class 1 maintenance. Please replace the coarse fuel filter element, fine fuel filter element, and water filter element. As for a vehicle with annual mileage less than 60,000 kilometers, replace them when the mileage reaches 20,000 kilometers. As for a vehicle with annual mileage over 60,000 kilometers, replace them when the mileage reaches 30,000 kilometers. Method and procedure of replacement. 1. Use the special filter spanner to remove the fuel filter element. 2. Fill fuel up to the holes around the new filter element. 3. Lubricate the seal. 4. Install the filter element onto the filter set and make sure that sealing ring is not damaged or folded. 5. Screw in the filter by hand until the seal contacts with the fitting surface of filter. 6. Keep on screwing in the filter until it is fixed tightly, about 3/4 rounds. Note: don't use any tool. 7. Discharge air until no air bubble appears. 8. Start up the engine and inspect for leakage. Inspect the level in the water collector under the coarse filter regularly, and when the water level is 10 to 20 mm above the bottom, screw off the water valve to discharge the water. 3. Maintenance of oil filter. Replace the oil filter. The oil filter shall be replaced regularly. When replacing the engine oil, replace both oil filters. The oil filter element may not be cleaned. 1. Inspect whether the oil filter case is deformed, whether any rubber sealing gasket is damaged, whether there's any foreign matter between rubber gasket and seal groove, and whether the safety valve is in its original position. 2. Apply some lubricating oil onto 2 filter sealing gaskets. Fill oil to the holes around the new filter element. Mount it onto the oil filter seat. Screw in the filter by hand until the seal contacts with the fitting surface of filter. Keep on screwing the filter until it is fixed tightly. About 3/4 rounds. Don't use any tool. Don't screw it too much or using big spanner or pipe pliers. 3. Drive the vehicle for 5 to 10 minutes to check whether there's oil leakage. 4. Maintenance of brake pipeline. When welding, cutting, or drilling near any polyamide brake pipe, follow the instructions below. 1. Release the pressure in the pipeline in advance. Air circulation will be implemented in the following order: internal circulation for 15 minutes and external circulation for 1 minute. Press the key. The LCD liquid crystal display will show the outside temperature. 3 seconds later, change back to the indoor temperature automatically. Off key. 1. When the air conditioner is on, press off, turn it, and close the LCD. Air conditioner will stop working. 2. When the air conditioner is off, press the wind rate increasing key to enter the manual mode. Under this mode, the wind rate will be set at step 1 and the preset temperature is 20 degrees centigrade. Defrosting key. 1. Press this key to activate the forced defrosting state. The wind blowing mode. Defrosting. Internal circulation. Wind rate at step 4. Water valve open. Air conditioner on, and the blending door in hot state. Press the key again to exit and restore to the previous working state. Mode key. Press the key to change the wind blowing modes in order. Blowing face and feet. Blowing feet. Blowing feet and defrosting. Defrosting. Blowing face. Blowing face and feet. And the new mode will be shown on LCD. A or C key. Under the manual mode, press the A or C key to turn off the compressor. Press it again, the compressor will be turned on. Water valve key. Under the manual mode, press the water valve key to open the water valve. Press it again, water valve will be closed. Automatic air conditioner on your vehicles. Air conditioner button. Press the air conditioner button to start the air condition. Heater button. Press the heater button to start the heater. Wind rate knob switch. This switch have 5 steps: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Wind rate increases from 0 of step 0 to highest of step 4. Wind blowing mode knob. Wind blowing modes change in order: blowing face to blowing face and windshield, blowing windshield, blowing feet mode knob. Turn this knob clockwise. The blowing feet wind rate increases gradually. Internal or external circulation knob. Turn this knob to left for internal circulation and turn to right for external circulation. Air conditioner on Shacman F2000 vehicles. Air conditioner mode knob. Off. Cooling. Auto. Heating function. Blowing feet mode. Push the rod to left side to deactivate the mode and push to right side to activate the mode. Blowing face or windshield mode. Press the upper side of switch to activate the blowing face mode and press the lower side of switch for blowing windshield mode. Wind rate switch. The wind rate switch has off, 1, 2, and 3, increasing the wind rate gradually. 2. Seat. The driver's seat falls into air suspension seat and hydraulic seat. The air suspension seat can be adjusted only when the seat is not overloaded. The pressure in pneumatic system is 7 bar and the vehicle stops. When adjusting, be sure that the engagement sound of the seat locking device is heard. Air suspension seat. Adjustment of fore and aft position. Pull the handle upwards. Move the seat forwards or backwards as desired. Then release the handle. Hold the handle upwards. Apply an appropriate upwards or downward force to the front end of seat cushion to have it lowered or lifted to the desired position. Then release the handle. Adjustment of rear end height. Pull the handle upwards. Apply an appropriate upward or downward force to the rear end of seat cushion to have it lowered or lifted to the desired position. Then release the handle. Adjustment of backrest angle. Pull the handle forwards. Turn the backrest to the desired position. Then release the handle. Adjustment of damping state. The seat has air suspension function when the handle is set horizontal. Turn the handle clockwise to apply appropriate force downwards onto the seat. Lock the handle, the seat will be fixed. Hydraulic seat. Adjustment of fore and after position. Put the handle upwards. Move the seat forwards or backwards to the desired position. Then release the handle. Rigidity adjusting handle. Turn the seating surface rigidity adjusting handle wheel and adjust the preset strength on the basis of road conditions and the driver's weight. Don't place the indicating needle at lower than 40 or higher than 130. The adjustment of front end height, rear end height, and backrest angle are the same as those for air suspension seat. Adjustment of headrest height. Press the adjusting button. Pull up the headrest to the desired position. Press the adjusting button. Push down the headrest to the desired position, then release the button. Front passenger seat. This seat doesn't have fore and after adjust function. Other functions and use are the same as driver's seat. 5. Adjustment of steering wheel. The steering wheel can be adjusted only when the vehicle stops. It is absolutely prohibited to adjust the steering wheel when the vehicle is running. Adjustment of height. Unscrew the left knob. Adjust the steering wheel to the desired height. Then tighten the knob. Adjustment of angle. Unscrew the right knob. Adjust the steering wheel until the desired angle is obtained. Then tighten the knob. 6. Opening and closing of skylight. Skylight on F3000 vehicles. Hold the handle. Pull it towards the rear of the cab. And after the bayonets on both sides break away from fixing point, pushing upwards to open the skylight. Operate conversely to close the skylight. Skylight on S2000 vehicles. Hold the operation hole. Push up one side and then the other to fully open the skylight. Pull down one side for forward or backward ventilation. Pull down both sides successfully to close the skylight. 2. Routine inspection before driving. 1. Inspect the cables connected to the battery. Before driving, inspect the cables connected to the battery. Make sure they are connected properly and reliably. Open the cover of the battery case. Check whether the battery posts are connected correctly. Check whether two fuse boxes are in good conditions. Check the connection of main switch and make sure that main switch controls the positive pole. If the main power switch is connected incorrectly, the ECU electronic control unit of engine may get burned out. 2. Inspect of engine trouble code. Vehicle with Weichai engine. Turn on the ignition switch. The engine is in good conditions if the EDC trouble indicator lamp comes on for 2 seconds and then goes out. If this lamp does not go out, there's trouble. Press trouble diagnosis switch. The EDC lamp will indicate a 3-digit code by flashing. Press the trouble diagnosis switch again. Read and record the second trouble code and ask for repair. Vehicles with Cummins engine. Turn on the ignition switch. If the 3 lamps come on for 2 seconds and then go out successfully, the engine is in good conditions. Read the trouble code as follows. Stop the engine. Turn on the diagnosis switch. Turn on the ignition switch. Start with the flash of yellow alarm lamp. Read the 3-digit trouble code from the red lamp. Press the idle speed, increasing, reducing switch for reading the next or previous trouble code. Record them and then ask for repair. 3. Inspect the level of engine oil. Open the radiator cover. Draw out the oil dipstick. Wipe it with a clean rag. Insert it into the oil sump. Pull it out for inspecting oil level. The oil level shall be between the upper and lower marks on the oil dipstick. Add oil through WP10 oil filler, WP12 oil filler and ISM oil filler if the level is below the lower mark. After the specified level is reached, cover the oil filler properly. 4. Inspect the level of coolant. Inspect the level of coolant in expansion tank. Add coolant timely if the level is too low. Open the filler cover and fill the coolant to the level between the mark minimum and maximum. Check whether there is oil droplet on the surface. If yes, the engine is in trouble. In such case, inspect it and eliminate the trouble in time. It is a kind of long-effect anti-freezing and anti-cruising coolant and shall be replaced at least every 2 years. There are 2 draining holes. One is screw plug below the radiator cover. The other is screw plug under the water tank. Special coolant should be applied in the aluminum water tank. 5. Inspect the level of washing liquid in sprayer can. Open the cover of the sprayer can, check the level of washing liquid, and add liquid if the level is too low. 6. Inspect the oil level in power steering oil reservoir. Pull out oil dipstick to see if the oil level is at the upper mark. When the engine is running stably at medium speed, the oil level shall be 1 to 2 centimeters above the upper mark. Add oil if the level is too low. If the hydraulic oil in the system is to be replaced or the oil is seriously insufficient and there's air in the oil circuit, be sure to discharge the air when adding hydraulic oil. The method is as follows. Check up the front axle. Start off the engine and make it run stably at low speed. Slowly fill the hydraulic oil into the oil reservoir. Meanwhile, slowly turn the steering wheel from limit position on one side to the other limit position rapidly, until no more air is discharged from the oil reservoir. Add the oil to the specified level. 7. Inspect the level of fuel in fuel tank. Inspect the fuel level by fuel gauge. If the level is too low, add diesel fuel 5 to 10 degrees centigrade below ambient temperature. 8. Inspect the operating conditions of lamps and electrical equipment. Inspect the working conditions of headlamps, turn lamps, brake lamps, and backup lamps to see if they all work normally and whether the wiper is in good conditions. 9. Inspect the tightening of all fasteners. Inspect the tightening of fasteners such as steering knuckle rocker arm nuts, steering gear universal joint nuts, tire bolts, thrust rod fasteners, tie rod ball pins, leaf spring U-bolts, brake chamber bracket bolts, and brake chamber fixing bolts. 10. Inspect the tightening of various locking plates and locking pins. Inspect locking conditions of the differential lock cylinder fork locking plate, the cotter pin of drag link, the cotter pin of lifting cylinder anchor pin, and the cotter pin of cable tightening limiting rod. 11. Inspect the tire pressure. The tire pressure depends on the specifications of the tire. Please inflate the tire in accordance with the specified pressure. Measure the tire pressure with the pressure gauge, and if the pressure is too low, inflate the tire with the air supply on the vehicle. The method is as follows. Connect the inflation hose onto the joint. Inflate the tire with the compressed air in air reservoir. 3. Start up and shut down the engine. 1. Start up. Turn on the main power switch. Pull the steer battery switch to horizontal position. As for main battery, turn the key upwards to turn on the switch. Set the gear lever at the neutral position. Set the gear lever at neutral position. The neutral switch of the transmission gets closed. The electronic control unit supplies power to the starter to start the engine. Or the electronic control unit will wait 3 seconds to give the starting signal. Note: accident may occur if the engine is started with gear engaged. Don't push down the clutch. When there is no air pressure, the clutch pedal can't be pushed down. If it is pushed down forcefully, the cylinder may get damaged. Turn on the ignition switch. Under the normal conditions, the charging indicator lamp, handbrake lamp, engine oil pressure alarm indicator lamp, air pressure indicator lamp, and stop lamp will come on. The ignition switch can lock up the steering wheel as well as start and stop the engine. Position 0. Key can be inserted into and pulled out, and the engine stops. Position R. The engine is turned off, and the battery only supplies power to the radio and CD player. Position 1. The ignition switch is turned on, and electrical devices are energized. Position 2. The position of ignition switch when the vehicle is running. Position 3. The position of ignition switch when the engine is being started. Start up the engine. Turn the ignition switch to position 3 to start the engine. Don't push the throttle, since the amount of the fuel supplied while starting is determined by ECU, not position of foot throttle. Release the key after engine is started up. The key will return to the position 2 automatically. For S2000 vehicles, press the starting button to start engine. In case of failure to start engine, turn the ignition switch to the position 0 and start engine again. After the engine has been started up, the engine oil pressure alarm indicator lamp and the charging indicator lamp shall go out. If the instruments are normal, allow the engine run at idle speed for 3 to 5 minutes before accelerating or increasing load. Instruction. Normally, the engine will be started in 3 to 5 seconds. The attempt to start engine shall not exceed 15 seconds, and the interval between 2 attempts shall not be less than 2 minutes. If the engine can be started after 3 to 5 attempts, please inspect whether there is air in the low-pressure diesel pipeline. Discharge the air by using the hand pump if necessary. 2. Air discharging. The method to discharge air is as follows. Discharge air from low-pressure fuel pipeline. Unscrew the bleeding bolt at the outlet of fuel course filter. Press the button of hand pump repeatedly until no air bubbles comes out. Then screw bleeding bolt. If the engine still can't be started, discharge the air in the high-pressure fuel pipeline. Discharge air from high-pressure fuel pipeline. Loosen any outlet pipe of high-pressure common rail pump. Start up the engine. Observe the outlet until the fuel column reaches the height of 4 fingers and without air bubble. Then tighten up the fuel pipe. 3. Shut down. Shut down the engine. Turn the ignition switch from the position 2 to the 0. Then the ECU, electronic control unit, will stop supplying power and the engine will be shut down. Turn off the main power switch after the engine has been shut down for 30 seconds. Before shutting down the engine, run engine at idle speed for 3 to 5 minutes. To protect the turbocharger, it is prohibited to violently push down the throttle before shutting down the engine. 4. Operation for vehicle driving. 1. Startup of vehicle. Starting conditions. If the indicating needles of air pressure gauges 1 and 2 are in the red zone after the engine is started up, then the pressure in air pipeline is too low. The low air pressure alarm lamp will come on. The vehicle may be driven when the pressure in air reservoir is higher than 5.5 bar and the alarm lamp and stop lamp go out. When parking the vehicle, properly pull up the handbrake handle. The parking brake alarm lamp will come on. Check to make sure the water temperature, engine oil pressure, and various indicator lamps are in normal conditions. Get a gear engaged and slowly release the clutch. To start the vehicle, when shifting gear, get the clutch disengaged fully. The gear lever shall be properly pushed into gear position. 2. Operation of transmission. Gear position of transmission. When the gear lever is at low speed gear position, the low speed gear indicator lamp is on. When the gear lever is at high speed gear position, the low speed gear indicator lamp is out. Shifting between high and low speed gear zones. For transmission with 9 gears, you can pull or push the gear lever between front side low speed gear zone and right side the high speed gear zone to shift gear. For transmission with 10 gears or 12 gears, you can pull up high speed gear zone or down low speed gear zone, the handle switch to shift gear. For transmission with 16 gears, pull upwards and gear selecting switch on gear lever to get an even number gear engaged. Pull downwards the gear selecting switch on gear lever to get an odd number gear engaged. And the shifting between high and low speed gear zones is the same as the transmission with 9 gears. 2 neutral positions. The 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 8th gear of 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th gears are low speed gears. 10th, 12th, 14th, and 16th gears, or 9th, 11th, 13th, and 15th gears are high-speed gears. Instruction. When shifting the gear from low-speed gear zone to high-speed gear zone, or conversely, no skip shift is allowed. When the gear lever is set at the neutral position, do not literally pull the gear lever to avoid unnecessary wear. After the gear lever has been shifted from low-speed gear zone into high-speed gear zone, or conversely, wait a hold before engaging to the gear to allow the auxiliary transmission to rearrange the position of gears. On a horizontal road, for 9-gear transmission or 12-gear transmission, the 3rd gear may be used for starting the vehicle unloaded, and the 2nd gear may be used for vehicle under heavy load. For 16-gear transmission,